Welcome to episode 5 with Falling in Love with Tacoma. Welcome, I'm Mellie. I'm a Tacoma native and I've been a realtor here since 2015. A lot of what I love about this work comes back to the city itself, the people, the neighborhoods, the homes, and all the little details that make this place what it is. And I'm here with Kierstyn today. She's our behind the scenes at Wonderlux, and she'll be the one asking the questions today. This one today is about historic homes, the Craftsmans, the Victorians, the Colonials, the ones with original woodwork and hundreds of years of stories and character. They're a big part of what I'm drawn to in this work. As you guys have seen, there's a lot that comes with buying and selling one of these that people don't always see up front. So a lot of times we're showing you the beauty and all of those things. And without further ado, we're going to learn about some of the things to know about when you buy these homes that we want you to consider also. So without further ado, here's Kierstyn.
Alrighty. Mellie, you sell all kinds of homes, but the old ones are different for you.
Yes.
When did that start?
Oh no, this is like one of those ADHD things where I like go back to like 20 years ago when I first went into an old home in LA and was like, why does it smell like this?
In LA.
Yes, we were visiting a friend's house and it was this old 1900s home and it just had this old house smell that I really love. And people who love old homes know what I'm talking about. And I was a little kid at the time, but it was the first time I'd been in something that was that old with like original flooring. And then the house that I live in now, I met when I was 16. And I remember falling in love with it and being like, one day I'm going to own it. And slowly throughout real estate, I realized every time I got to show these craftsmen, like there was just like this excitement inside of me. And so really what other thing should I do than do the things that I love, right? And so it's so special when we get to go and tour these homes. It's special when I get to help clients buy them. It's my favorite.
What's something people don't see
Mhm.
until they're already in love with an old home?
Yes. I would say even in starting out, like, I definitely can be more about the whimsical than the practical. And then we have to factor in the practical because we're adults and things cost money. And as one of the things I learned quickly and that is important to me and to educate buyers and sellers on is the costs associated with these historic homes can be more, right? They take more finesse and care and specialties sometimes. And we're going to be looking at knob and tube wiring, galvanized plumbing. There's things inside the walls that and everybody's going to have their own comfort zone in this. So to me, it's being aware of it, being knowledgeable about it, doing your research on it, getting bids on it, knowing before maybe even we shop, maybe we look at a couple, and then also looking at budget and then long-term goals to see what are you comfortable with? Are you okay if it has a little bit of knob and tube? Are you okay if it has a lot of knob and tube? Are you going to want to rewire it? Are you okay taking that risk? How is insurance? And I don't know if I'm going on to other questions right now, but
No, keep going. Those are all good
yes,
things that people should know.
And with all the, natural disasters that are happening, we know that insurance is tightening down. It's harder to get insurance on certain things. So if you have a home with knob and tube, there's going to be quite a few insurance companies that don't cover it. And so that's something that we've been working on behind the scenes is working with more insurance brokers and finding people who can insure these homes. What is that going to look like on cost wise? That way, when you're getting pre-approved, there's no surprises. We want everyone to make a comfortable, heart-led decision, but then also have the practical parts down too.
For someone who doesn't know what knob and tube is, what is knob and tube?
Ooh, I am not an electrician, so that's where we'll bring an expert in. Knob and tube is a certain type of wiring that they had that can nowadays, if it wasn't taken care of properly, they can be a fire hazard. I would say Google it because it's going to be a lot better at explaining it than I am. I am a lot better now at seeing it. So, like, I can tell by the switches. I've had some great electricians who've been very kind to teach me and show me in these homes. And so I can kind of spot them out a little bit more on evidence if they're, in the down in the basement, if they're up in the attic. Um, but it's still good to, I am not the electrician. So we'll be bringing in the experts too, because I don't want to be the one making that decision on that.
Absolutely. So let's say
Yes.
someone's about to buy a 1910 Craftsman in Tacoma.
Hmm.
What do you tell them to check before they fully commit?
Yep. Again, so we're on our buyer consultation. We're going to go over if they're exactly looking for historic home to live in. We want to go over what they're comfortable with and what are they aware of what knob and tube is, uh, galvanized plumbing, or even in Tacoma, there's different, sewer systems that they've used that we want to make sure like has that been updated, um, and just basically know all the risks, know like the budgets around these things, and is that something that they want to live with and do later? Are there some of them we need to tackle right away once they move in? Um, and then some of the houses around here have been updated, right? So then that's a plus on a lot of them also. So there's it. It's all starts with when we do our buyer consultation is to find out what works for your family or works for you, and what are concerns, what are budgets, and then we go to work looking for your home within that scope.
Tell me about a Tacoma deal where the
Hmm.
old house had a surprise that nobody saw coming.
Well, I mean, we've been talking about knob and tube, and I would say, one time I did have a client who was interested in the home, and the house was buttoned up perfectly. They had multiple offers, and she really loved the home a lot. It was had a lot of interior design work to it, but the house was fully knob and tube. And this is kind of like actually a few years back when I learned more specifically on like how insurance handles that, how electricians handle that,
Mm.
and just the potential costs that come with that. And so it wasn't the right budget for her on this home. And so that was a surprise back then. It's not a surprise now because we're talking about it before we go into these homes. But that was kind of, I would say, the surprise that I had at that time.
Yeah, and it was the financial upkeep cost
Yes.
that got her. That
Yes.
didn't fit into her lifestyle at that moment.
Yes.
We've been talking about buying.
Hmm.
So on the seller side,
Yes.
let's say you're listing a historic home in Tacoma. How do you sell it for what it's actually worth?
Oh, yes. So with historic homes, there's definitely emotional value, and then there's also the appraised value, and then the buyer value, your neighborhood value, and putting those all into consideration. I like, when we list homes, we have a very big strategy meeting of uh, kind of how to showcase your home. And so, we have the seller's disclosure. We want to be able to talk about and know, how old everything is that you're aware of. And we're going to talk about the systems that are inside. And the more we can do that up front, the better we can get your house ready to go for the market. And also to find the buyer who is, you know, okay with those things. Like if you do have older wiring, like there are buyers that are okay with that, that maybe have uh, goals down the road to do their own remodeling. And you can still get, I mean, we know North Tacoma homes, like they still fly off the shelves and they still get max value even with these old things in place, because those who love the old homes, we want to honor them and keep them. And there's a big value investment in there for us.
What do you do for an old home that you wouldn't do for a new build?
To me, the word modern just comes into my head. You don't want to rip out a lot of the character. If you love your historic home and you want to keep the value, keeping the story and as much original character is important. And you know me, I love like a blend of old and new, but there's still a honor to keeping as much of the character. So like the wood that's in the home, whether it's like wood flooring, the trim, even lead windows, those things, like I would keep as much as you could. and not modernize it to the point where it doesn't feel like a historic home. That's just my own personal opinion, professional opinion.
How do you find the right buyer for an old home? Who should buy an old home and who shouldn't?
Well, recently, from our amazing TikTok that we've been building, Kierstyn, we got someone who was like, I want an old home in North Tacoma, and they moved from Seattle. And that's been so exciting because we're definitely finding our people who want these homes, and it's so exciting to work together, right? Like it was very enjoyable to go hunting with her and oohing and awing over these homes and bonding over that and getting to know each other through that process, and also finding out what's important to them. Like there's some things they're okay with, some things that, they wanted to make sure each home had, and we got to go looking for those homes to make sure it matched what they wanted.
If someone's looking to buy or sell an old home, what's one piece of advice you'd leave them with?
I would say, let's tell the story of your home. I like to think of myself as the artist of real estate. And so when we have these historic homes that have been around since the 1900s, really knowing the story of the house and being able to tell that and finding the buyer who we get to hand that off to. Like to me, it's like we just need to find the one buyer who loves this, and that's the way I market. And I like people buy like homes is a lot of times. Oh, my clients will hear me say that all the time because it's true, and we see so many overlaps of similarities within buyers and sellers. And yeah, I would say lean into the quirks, the oddities, and the beauty of the home, and it will sell for you pretty much.
What about for a buyer? What's a piece of advice you'd leave
Hmm.
the buyer with?
Um, when I bought my house in my Craftsman in Hilltop right now, a lot of people are like, "Don't do it, don't do it," and I'm stubborn. And also, there's practical and then there's whimsy, and you got to know what is important to you and your lifestyle. And for me, I have to have whimsy. I would rather have whimsy than practical. Practical is important, so I'm not saying it's not important, and I do honor that, and I'm adaptable to the clients that are more practical minded. However, if you are whimsical like me, or you do need to feel inspired in your own home, I would definitely say, like, don't forget that. And that is a meaningful piece that brings fulfillment in life if that's important to you. And I'm so glad that I bought my house because it is the place of rest and rejuvenation and inspiration for me. And I don't regret that. So thank you for joining our call today, or our podcast. If you're starting to think about buying or selling a historic home in Tacoma, I just want to say I'm always here as a resource. And if you want to start a conversation, the client questionnaire link is in our bio. So I'll see you on the next one.